Hello and welcome to Saturday's Birmingham News Weekend magazine. We've got a new look. It's our relaxed look around Birmingham and the West Midlands. So coming up on today's show, well, we'll kick off with a look back at this week in the wide world of sport. I'll be seeing what's up on the community notice board. Stephen Jason will join us with some more interesting guests, and Carl will have the film news. We'll be picking a letter in our A to Z of the West Midlands, and Des and Gary will take a look at what's on this week. We'll be experiencing a touch of the arts in today's show, and Norman Bartlam then will tell us what's so special about this month. So it's all within those pages of the Weekend magazine.
On Tuesday evening, the final of the JW Hunt Cup took place between Alf Church and Wensfield at Molyneux. The Cup helps raise funds for the Beacon Centre for the Blind and has been going since 1926. Alf Church won the final by 4-1, and afterwards we got the thoughts of both of the managers.
We've watched them 2 or 3 times. We knew we could give them a game, and I think anybody who's been at the game and has watched the first half knows we probably should have gone in 2-0, 3-0. We missed 2 from a yard. You know, the lads, the football to get there is quality. There's nothing wrong with the lads who've missed them. They've just missed them.
It happens, doesn't it?
100% it happens. And we knew today would be about 5 margins.
An ending to a season that you've had. I mean, that's 3 trophies.
Yeah.
Close to a 4th.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a wonderful story for Wensfield this season.
Yeah, but we took over 2 years ago. We took over 2 years ago when Wensfield were in dire straits, and that's no reflection on anybody before us. But they were in dire straits. All we tried to do, I've been with the club 13 years. 2 of the lads out there today have been with me since they were 6. So it's a massive occasion for me and those lads and their belief they've given Wensfield. But we only come in 2 years ago to put some pride back in the club. And whether we've won, lost or drawn tonight, you've seen how many Wensfield are here. We've put some pride back in the club. And that's all we set out to do. We know if with our ethos, with how we want to play and our bravery, and there's nobody forced to do anything here. They just have to play and play well. We know we'll win games. We won 85% of our games this year. I think we lost 5 games, and that includes Bewdley, Alva Church and Romulus. So when we lose...
You're losing to higher ranks.
We're losing to proper teams, you know.
I mean, you put on one hell of a spectacle.
Yeah.
Cracking cup final.
Yeah.
Pushed a very good side.
Yeah, and we have to pay respects to Alva Church. They're a class act. The keeper, Tom, who's been quality today, he's Alva Church's goalkeeper. From the chairman to the manager, back room, they're a class act. So if we're going to lose, we lose to Alva Church every day of the week.
Yeah, finished the season with a treble. Good night.
Yeah, fantastic night. I mean, all credit to Wensfield. They really pushed us first half. I didn't feel that we got close enough to them across the pitch. Give them a bit of a talking to, so to speak, at half-time. Told them they've got to get closer and put better pressure on the ball as a team, and they did that second half much better, higher tempo to us, and I think it was worthy winners in the end. Great credit to Wensfield. They've had a great season as well.
Josh's goal just before half-time, perfect time really, wasn't it?
Exactly that, yeah. 2 great finishes, to be fair, from Josh. Again, I mean, we won the League Cup last Monday and he got 2 that day. But his general play today, it wasn't great, but, he scores goals and, we've got to say in our place, goals pay the rent, and, he's 4 goals in 2 cup finals, which is a fantastic achievement for himself.
Wonderful season, 3 trophies. You couldn't have wished for more.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it now. But after the disappointment of last year with Hereford and that, and just missing out last year, it's been a perfect season really. I think obviously you got the FA Vars, was disappointing in that, and the FA Cup. We've had some tough draws in cup competitions, but to come away with 3 trophies from this season is amazing achievement.
And now it's look forward. Everstick League, another challenge, but the club's on the up.
Yeah, it is. The club is going in the right direction. Everything's going really well for the club. We've got the plans for the new ground that we spoke about on Jumpers the Goalpost a few weeks back. So everything's going in the right direction. It's just important now. A lot of the lads have already committed. We've got to now sit down with a few more, and hopefully we can get them lads over the line. Add a couple of additions for the Evo stick, and there's no reason why we can't be challenging in the Evo stick as well.
So then I'd say it's high time we had a look what's on the community notice board. It's the news that you send to us. Remember, if there's something that we could mention, then you can always get in touch. But do give us plenty of notice, and we'll give you those all-important contact details in a few minutes' time. Now, on the 10th and 11th of June, Shropshire residents will be holding their annual Duck Trail through the village of Chorley near Bridge North. The fundraising event showcases hundreds of elaborately decorated wooden ducks, which are all created by local residents and school children from Stotterston Primary School. Now, residents and the school children are currently working on their designs and ideas to get them ready for the event. The ducks are then displayed along a trail in nesting sites throughout the village and gardens to raise funds to maintain Chorley Village Hall. The 2-mile duck trail starts at Chorley Village Hall, where trail maps, plants, cakes and refreshments will be on sale. The trail starts at 11 AM on both days, and you can visit the village to see the displays and also this year's winning entries. So for more information and updates on the Chorley Duck Trail, you can visit their Facebook page at facebook.com/Chorley Village Hall. Next, Tonya Clark has been in touch to tell us that Handsworth Park is buzzing with activity this year, from Zumba to canoeing, and now it has the start of a sensory garden thanks to Veolia and Tesco Bags for Life. Tonya says that the Friends of Handsworth Park are looking for local people to lend a hand to plant up the garden with Jim Harrison, who's a ranger with Birmingham City Council. And the first planting session is Friday the 2nd of June at 11 AM. Graham Winfield, who is the chair of the Friends group, he says, "We've been dreaming for a long time of a space in the park that would be a place of quiet contemplation that people could be involved with." And he says that they're so pleased that the council and funders have made this happen. So if you think you could lend a hand, then you can get in touch with Tonya Clark, and her email address tonya@btconnect.com. Now, the next phase of improvement works to a kilometre of the Braidley arm of the main line canal towpath is underway. It forms part of the Bilston Urban Village Regeneration Scheme, and it's going to see the section between Highfields Road and Dudley Street improved with a wider and properly surfaced path. It'll provide existing residents and those from the new housing developments to an easy, accessible, attractive, traffic-free route to work, leisure, school or local shops. Now, the works are being carried out in partnership with the Canal and River Trust, and they follow the completion of the first phase between Deepfield Junction and Highfields Road, thanks to funding from the Local Growth Fund. Now, the path will link with existing cycling and walking routes, extending opportunities for local people to enjoy an active lifestyle and leave the car at home. It's a good idea, isn't it? Now, families are being invited to the Sandwell Families Big Picnic this coming half-term. The picnic, which attracted hundreds of children, parents and carers, is on Thursday the 1st of June, and it'll be right by the children's play area in Dartmouth Park in West Bromwich. Now, it's the 8th annual picnic hosted by Sandwell Council's Family Information Service, and it promises to be bigger and better than previous years. Families are being asked to bring along a picnic and join in with the free activities on offer, including face painting, the Animal Man again, yes, arts and crafts, sports activities, plus much more. So if you'd like more information about the picnic and for other holiday activities, you can have a look at www.discoversandwell.co.uk or call 0121 569 4914. And finally, after months of High Bear Nation, Birmingham's Children's Hospital Charity and Wild in Art have announced that Birmingham's The Big Sleuth will launch on Monday the 10th of July. The free 10-week public art trail is known as The Big Sleuth because sleuth is the name for a group of bears. Bet you didn't know that. It'll see Birmingham engulfed in colour with up to 165 centimetre tall sculptures taking to the region's streets, parks and open spaces. Now, the aim is to showcase the artistic and cultural diversity that the city has to offer. It's family friendly, and the trail is intended to inspire residents and tourists alike to get active by walking, jogging, running or cycling the Big Sleuth Trail. It's located across the city with satellite trails in Solihull, Sutton Coldfield, Sandwell and at Resorts World. It all runs until Sunday the 17th of September. Then at the end of The Big Sleuth, the giant bears will be sold at auction. Yeah. Now you'll remember The Big Sleuth's successor, The Big Hoot, with the owls. It raised over £500,000 for charity at auction, and The Big Sleuth aims to do at least the same. Now all proceeds go towards helping children and young people being treated at Birmingham's Children's Hospital. So for more information, you can have a look at their website, which is www.thebigsleuth.co.uk. And there we go, that's what we've found pinned to this week's community notice board. If you know about something we could be telling people about, why don't you get in touch? But do give us at least a week's notice. And you can talk to us in all the usual ways. You can email news@madeinbirmingham.tv, or on social media, look us up, send a message at madeinbham2tv, or you can just use the hashtag Birmingham News. And of course, as ever, we'll have more for you at the same time next week. So then, time for a break, and when we come back, Steve will be talking to his weekly guest and Carl will have the film news. Stay with us. Welcome back. Still to come later in the show, we'll be choosing a letter in our A to Z of the West Midlands, plus we'll have a look at what's on across our area. Now, you may have heard the BBC is making a film about Laurel and Hardy's British tour in the early 1950s, with our own Steve Coogan and American actor John C. Reilly as the famous funsters. But what really happened when they arrived in Birmingham? Well, Steve Green talked to Laurel and Hardy enthusiast John Uller about their Midlands madcapery.
John, we were talking last time about Laughing Gravy and the fact that you are the biggest monthly gathering of Laurel and Hardy fans in the UK, and you're pretty sure in the entire world.
Yep, I am.
But a lot of people don't realise that the boys had a real connection with Birmingham. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah. Well, there's quite a few connections with Birmingham. The first one is Stan Laurel's father, we believe, was born here in Birmingham. His birth certificate doesn't exist. So, but all the records, the census records, show he was born here in Birmingham. So Stan Laurel's father's a Brummie, isn't that a great thing to say?
It is.
And also, of course, Stan Laurel's Auntie Mary, and not the one who had a canary, but is actually born in Birmingham, baptised in St Martin's Church in the Bullring, and she's actually buried in our local church in Erdington. So that's the main Birmingham.
So he had strong family roots.
Yeah, here in Birmingham. Of course, we mentioned briefly Charlie Hall was born on the Washwood Heath Road.
Who'd starred in 50 films.
He made 50 films, were born in Birmingham. But the boys came to Birmingham on numerous occasions. The first time in 1932. And there were 10,000 people.
I'm sure a lot of people don't realise that they were, over here then. But 10,000.
10,000 people at New Street, and they stayed at an old hotel in Birmingham called the Queen's Hotel, which is a really large hotel, 6 stories high, right at the back of New Street. They stayed a night there. They appeared at the Gorman Cinema. Some people remember the Gorman Cinema.
I remember it very well, up by the Birmingham Post and Mail building.
And an old place called the West End Cinema and Dance Hall. People who've got longer memories will remember that fabulous place. Again, demolished around about the 60s. So the first time was 1932. They came back for their first tour of the UK in 1947, and they appeared at the Birmingham Hippodrome. The year they chose, 1947, is infamous for one thing. Most people say, when you mention 1947, they mention one thing, the winter of 47. Now, one of our members actually went to see Laurel and Hardy at the Hippodrome, Birmingham Hippodrome in 1947. So he told us exactly what it was like. Then
freezing cold.
Freezing cold. You're queuing up to get the unreserved seats at the back, paying, I think it was 6p to get the unreserved seats at the back. And he met Stan Laurel. He waited afterwards and he met Stan Laurel. Then they came back in 1952, a week at the Birmingham Hippodrome, 1953, another week at the Birmingham Hippodrome, and the last ever tour of the UK in the Aston Hippodrome in 1954, May 1954, and they stayed at the wonderful Barton's Arms pub, which is just across the road from the Aston.
As I say, you do tours now at the Barton's Arms, where you touch upon the many people who actually, famous people who stayed there, including, of course, Marie Lloyd and Enrico Caruso and,
fabulous,
and Charlie Chaplin popped in there.
Well, they say Charlie Chaplin stayed. We don't know if he did or not. There's no records to say he stayed in there or not. We know Laurel and Hardy.
But the boys definitely stayed there.
The boys stayed there.
I mean, the thing about staying behind to meet fans is, they were very much attuned to keeping in touch with their fan base. I know that even in his later years, Stan used to personally answer letters that were sent to him, which is a wonderful thing to think of.
That's absolutely correct. So, I mean, Stan's phone number was in the directory.
That's that late 1954 tour.
Yeah,
that's the one that's currently 53. That's the one that's currently being turned into a TV movie. Isn't it?
The biopic, the BBC did a biopic of their last tour, 53 and 54.
It's kind of a pity they're picking that particular tour.
I mean, I hope they don't make it sad, because these two guys were never sad. You know, they were two fantastic people who always had time for everyone, they had time for each other. You know, so the 53-54, their last UK tour, Oliver Hardy became ill, so I suppose it's a bit more dramatic to show that. But their last weekly performance anywhere in the world was at the Aston Hippodrome. They'd done one more night, I think it was down in Plymouth, when Oliver Hardy became ill, so they had to cancel their tour. It's a shame we haven't kept the Aston Hippodrome, isn't it? Wouldn't it be great if we could still go there now?
But at least the Dudley Hippodrome,
the Dudley Hippodrome still going.
There.
Yeah, which is great. They played the Dudley Hippodrome twice. You know, they stayed in a bungalow, I believe. I met somebody who said they put Laurel and Hardy up in 1952 when they played the Dudley Hippodrome.
Funny enough, my colleague Lee Bannister's grandmother was an usherette at the Dudley Hippodrome back in those days, and my colleague Chrissy Harper here on the camera, Dad went along to see them at the Dudley Hippodrome. So, you know, there's a lot of people with a strong memory of their appearances here.
I've met a few people who met them at the Dudley Hippodrome, and I've got photographs of them at the back, inside the Dudley Hippodrome. So it's a very important place, and I'm so pleased that the Friends of Dudley Hippodrome have managed to save it. You know, I think it's got asbestos in there. It's going to take a lot of work to have it reef, but it will be worth it in the end.
It certainly will.
It's a beautiful building.
I mean, obviously, preserving the past is very important, and particularly when the past is so worth preserving.
It is, yeah.
John, thanks again.
Cheers, Steve. Thank you very much.
And next week, Steve will be checking out a mecca for the Midlands musicians, which counts Ozzy Osbourne and the Pussycat Dolls amongst the many who've given it a spin. Now, time for some movie news, and fresh from his daily film slot in the Lowdown, it's back to Carl Jones.
Thanks very much, Lee. Time to take a look at the latest movie news from around the West Midlands now. And the award for the most cringeworthy acting performance in a cameo role this week goes, without a doubt, to David Beckham, no less, in the new King Arthur movie Legend of the Sword. This is Guy Ritchie trying to put an edgy Cockney take on the classic Camelot story, and Mr. Beckham plays, would you believe, a henchman from Jude Law's army, and he's dressed in an imposing black set of armour in one of the most pivotal scenes of the film, actually, and then he opens his mouth. Take a look.
All right, where do you want me? Bouncing on my knee. Where do you think I want you? Hands on the hilt, stupid. Oi, both hands.
Well, David Beckham's cringeworthy performance is an awkward moment in a mishmash mess of a film, really. It borrows heavily from films like Gladiator, Robin Hood, and then it morphs into a bit of a Marvel-style action free-for-all at the end with Jude Law. So, for me, Guy Ritchie's failed to recreate the magic formula that he managed with Sherlock Holmes and Robert Downey Jr. a few years ago. So, Legend of the Sword will be memorable, not necessarily for the right reasons. Maybe better this weekend is a new Disney movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, Salazar's Revenge, or Pirates of the Caribbean 5. Now, this franchise nearly died on its feet when the last film came out on Stranger Tides back in 2011. It was a pretty shabby affair, that. This one's got Javier Bardem, no less, playing the baddie who's chasing Captain Jack Sparrow, while Captain Jack is chasing the Trident of Poseidon. Take a look.
Pirates had infected the seas for generations, so I vowed to eliminate them all. And then there was this boy, Jack Sparrow. Follow him in! He took everything from me and filled me with rage.
The dead have taken command of the sea. They're searching for Pearl, a girl, and a sparrow.
I have heard stories of a mighty Spanish captain who's hunted and killed thousands of men.
No, men, no. Pirates. Pirates.
I once knew a Spaniard named something in Spanish.
He's coming for you, Jack.
Where's your ship? Your crew? Your pants? Jack!
I'm so sorry, were you still talking?
There's nowhere to hide. Find Sparrow for me.
From this moment on, we are to be allies!
Considering where your left hand is, I'd say we're more than that.
Oh, monkey.
I'm not looking for trouble.
What a horrible way to live.
You will pay for what you did to me.
So, Pirates of the Caribbean, Salazar's Revenge, a return to form to a degree for the series. Not as good, I don't think, as the first two, but certainly better than the last one. If they don't float your boat, still going strong at the box office at the moment, of course, is the new Guardians of the Galaxy film. Fast and Furious 8 is still packing plenty in. It's a real action feast for West Midlands moviegoers at the moment. Don't forget, if you're involved in any kind of movie-making project, I'd love to hear from you, maybe chat to you on Film News one day. Send me an email to carl.jones@madeinbirmingham.tv. See you next week.
So then, time for another short break, but when we come back it'll be time to pick a letter as we look through the A to Z of the West Midlands. Plus we'll have our regular look at the arts, and of course Des and Gary will be here to see what's on during the coming week. I'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back to the programme with me, Lee Bannister. Time now to pick another letter in our journey through the A to Z of the West Midlands. Here's Richard.
Thank you very much, Lee, and welcome to your first instalment of A to Z of the West Midlands, the segment of the show where we bring you the things that make the West Midlands great. Today, we arbitrarily begin the series with the letter S for scratchings. Our region's cuisine carries with it many a delicacy we can be proud of. Faggots and gravy, grey peas and bacon, but the one which stands out like a fat man in a particularly colourful suit has to be the illustrious pork scratching. The perfect compadre to a warm pint of ruby, pork scratchings have been a staple snack in the Black Country since the 1800s. And who better to ask about the origin of the pork scratching than Made in Birmingham's resident historian, Norman Bartlam.
Pork scratchings was the food of poor people. Many people kept pigs in their back gardens and fattened them up for slaughter, making sure that nothing went to waste. With food scarce, no part of the pig was left wasted, and so these small, greasy, fatty little snacks became really popular. Now, scratchings have always been popular in the Black Country and in Birmingham, and they're even more popular now because someone's discovered that 49% of each packet is protein, which is good for you. All you need to do is to forget the 47% of it that's fat. It's not surprising, really, that 20 million bags of scratchings are sold every year.
Norman there, just scratching the bristly surface of our favourite salty deep fried snack. The pork scratchings industry in the West Midlands is thought to be worth more than £30 million per year, and this is growing with the recent resurgence of the snack's popularity, with Midland Snacks alone claiming to sell around 600 tonnes of them every year. with stars such as Cameron Diaz, Kate Moss, Nicole Scherzinger and universally loved national treasure Chris Evans all pledging their love for the pork scratching, it may no longer be almost solely a luxury of the working classes. As the American author Greg Gutfeld puts it in his Lessons from the Land of Pork Scratchings are delightfully grim, hardened strips of brown matter and pure cholesterol, but a snack he could not stop eating. However, health concerns about pork scratchings may actually be misplaced, with stars such as Beyoncé claiming they are a staple in their strict diets. So that just about wraps up today's segment on deep-fried pigskin. Back over to you, Lee.
And if you'd like to suggest a letter and a subject for Richard to have a go at, then get in touch. You can email news@madeinbirmingham.tv. So then, are you wondering what's on around our area? Well, worry no more, because here come Des and Gary to fill us in.
So here we are then. What's on? We're going to tell you in just a second, but we're here at the White Swan in Edgbaston. If you want a landmark, it's just around the corner from the Botanical Gardens and just down the road from Harborne High Street.
OK, 5 o'clock starting on Bank Holiday Monday. Another bank holiday. This comedy in the Fox Bar, which is on Lower Essex Street, with Giggle Pride, celebrating the end of the Pride weekend. It features Deborah Jane Appleby, Julie Jepson, Linda Santoro and resident host Maureen Younger, and it's free.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah, into comedy, that's the place to go.
Now, there's 3 great musicals happening in the city's theatres this week. Dirty Dancing is at the Alex, Oliver the Musical is at the Crescent Theatre on Sheepcote Street, and at the Hippodrome, Grease is the word. Oh, great stuff. That stars Tom Parker from boy band The Wanted as bad boy Danny, and Over the Rainbow winner Danielle Hope is Sandy, and a special guest appearance from Jimmy Osmond. Oh,
little Jimmy
as
Osmond.
Teen Angel, as the Teen Angel, and they all run until Saturday the 3rd. Some great shows there.
I suppose he's big Jimmy Osmond.
He is now. I saw him on TV the other day. He has put a few pounds on.
Now then, Wednesday at the Town Hall, international celebrity air hostess Pam Ann, great name, the A-list Queen of the Skies, plans to land the Louboutins on international tarmac with her 20th anniversary UK tour. Pam is the alter ego of Australian comedian, writer, producer Caroline Reid, and has developed cult status with her portrayal of a brash Australian hostess. As the airports got bigger, so did her ego.
I wonder if they're going to throw something in dragging somebody off the plane. Right, more comedy, and on Friday at the Glee, they have a full show starring Jamila Maddox, while on Broad Street, Ivo Graham headlines at the Comedy Loft. John Hastings and Jack Gleedo appear at Cherry Reds on John Bright Street, and if you're lucky enough to have a ticket, you'll be seeing Mickey Flanagan at the Barclaycard Arena.
John Bright Street, we're going to be there next week, aren't we? We're going to Turtle Bay.
Yeah.
Keep a watch out.
Yeah. So, but some friends of mine saw Mickey Flanagan the other week. Incredible, as you would. I love him. I just think he's brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Back to you, sir.
Okay, great gig news. 2 musical legends are coming to Birmingham in the coming months. Neil Diamond has announced dates at the Barclaycard Arena Friday the 13th of October, and then the Genting Arena on Sunday the 15th. Tuesday the 14th of November, Alice Cooper is going to be at the Barclaycard Arena. Plus, he's supported by The Mission and one of my favourite bands, The Tubes from America. Absolutely brilliant band. I've forgotten, I left my bell at the Glee Club.
I told you. I told you you'd lose your bell at that Glee Club. Where's the Glee Club again? It was on Her Street, isn't it?
Street, yeah.
What's Her Street famous for?
I don't know. I don't know.
People are very happy around there, aren't
they? Yes, they have, yeah. Anyway, gig of the week. So, I've got to improvise. There we go. Gig of the week. The Christians on their 30th anniversary tour, playing the Jam House on Thursday.
Well,
like the Christians. Yeah. That's all for us.
That's it.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, chaps, and they'll be back here at around the same time each week. Plus, you can catch on with what's going on during the rest of the week on Thursday's edition of The Lowdown. Right, now it's time for a relaxed profile of another artist.
Well, I think as artists, we're more subject-driven than most artists. Most artists focus on a style, particular style of painting. Our passion is the subject, which is horses, and particularly racing. Would you go along with that? Or?
Yeah, I'd go along with that. It's a passion that we both had since an early age. Always been around horses and always been into a little bit of the gambling on the horses as well. So we when we were sort of teenagers, we put the two together, and really has been our passion for the last 30 years.
It's still a challenge, you know. They're still a difficult subject, and that's what keeps you engaged in the subject.
I mainly stick to oils and pastels because I don't like not having control over watercolours, whereas I think Dave, you quite enjoy the freedom and the lucidity of the work in watercolours.
Yeah, I think yeah, my favourite medium is watercolour. I work in oil and anything really, but watercolour is my favourite because you've got a degree of the water doing the work, and I like to see what it does. So you can actually use drawing to get the detail and let the water do the work, and a lot of people are kind of uncomfortable with that, but I love it. So.
Yeah, I'm more of a control freak about it. I like to be totally in control of the medium, and if I'm not, it annoys me, so I'll leave the watercolours to Dave.
A lot of artists can copy a photograph and get a pretty good likeness of a horse, and we make work for ourselves because we kind of do the opposite. We'll see a series of photographs, watch the videos. If we're at the races, you know, if it's a racing scene, then obviously we've got our own memories, and we maybe pinch compositions from Remington and stuff like that, Lionel Edwards, Munnings, and even things like Batman comics, which we were again brought up on, have a kind of a role in the way we quite graphically represent horses sometimes, and so all that comes together, and we make work for ourselves because it's probably easier just to get a photograph and copy it. It's boring.
It's not pretty pictures of horses. It's about the sort of strength and the action and trying to capture the whole atmosphere of the thing, really. So yeah.
So it's not chocolate box pictures of horses. We're involved with the action as our main thing.
And we'll be profiling another artist at around the same time next week. Now, maybe you are an artist with a passion for the subjects you portray. Why don't you get in touch? You never know, we might be able to feature you or your work on the show. Or perhaps you know of an artist that we could cover. Either way, we'd love to take a look at your work, so why don't you get in touch? You can always email us news@madeinbirmingham.tv. Right, time for a break, but don't go anywhere because we've got an appointment with Jason in the Milk Bar, and then Norman will be seeing what's so special about this week, and of course we'll take a look at the weekend weather too. It's all to come in a few minutes' time. Welcome back to the final part of today's programme. Let's make our regular call now to the Milk Bar with Jason Forrest. And finally, Phil Collins. Now, they have performers from all around the area converging on the Grand for their show in June. Jason Forrest caught up with Tim Harper, the producer of the show, to find out more.
On Friday the 16th of June, and finally Phil Collins finally returns to Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre. To tell me more about it, the producer of the show, Tim Harper, hello.
Hi there.
How's it all going then?
Oh, it's going wonderful. We just started this year's tour the weekend before last. 70 dates in front of us, and as you say, back at the Grand in June. Can't wait.
And a great theatre to play, and really, you are a theatre sort of show, I think, aren't you? Because everyone can sit back for the bits they want to sit back for, but still dance around the aisles when they need to.
Absolutely, yes. It's very firmly based around the Phil Collins experience, and our show, the only way you can actually portray it is in a theatre. It just works so well.
Now, you're a Wolverhampton lad, so it's even better for you when you are playing in the city, and you're second drummer, so tell us about your role in the show to begin with.
Well, I'm the producer of the show, and I put the project together 10 years ago now. It's our 10th anniversary this year, and my role is really the Chester Thompson role, although I do pull the whole show together and make it work. But it's very much, for me, it's a really exciting project to be doing.
And introduce us to the rest of the gang.
Right, well, out front doing the fill is Chris Hayward, originally from Willenhall, just down the road. He now lives in Brighton. On lead guitar, we've got a young man from Sardinia called Marco Fressi. On keyboards, Kev Armstrong. He's from Llanelli in South Wales. Then we have a horn section, trombone, trumpet and sax player. They're spread all over the country, although our trumpet player does teach down at St Peter's School here, which is amazing.
So some brilliant local links.
Yes.
And that is a big lineup. So it's going to be a full band sound.
There's an 11-piece show. And as I said, we have a couple of backing vocalists as well. And a lady percussionist who taught in Wolverhampton a few years back and now plays for symphonic orchestras down in London. So we're really lucky to have her too. So it's a big homecoming for us all, and a really exciting thing for us to be doing.
And when it comes to putting a show together like this, as producer, you have to choose what goes in, what stays out, and there is so much material to choose from. So it is, and finally Phil Collins, which means you can have Genesis years, you can have solo years, a bit of Buster in there as well.
Yes, there's a bit of everything. And for this year, we're trying to cover as much as we possibly can, being our 10th anniversary. It's based around Phil's final farewell tour of 2004. And yes, there's half a dozen Genesis tracks in there, solo stuff in there, there's film tracks from Tarzan. We try to cover the whole gamut of what Phil's has done in the past.
And there may be some future stuff in there as well from the sound of things. So would that be something that you might be looking at the 11th year, you're having to redo some of the show with some interesting new songs?
Yes, I think so. And because Phil's actually touring again this year, and we're hoping some new material's going to come out of that, and that'll give us addition. But the song catalogue is enormous. We can keep this going forever and never catch up, you know. As long as the big hits are in there for the audience, that's fine. But there's plenty of other material for us to go at.
And that's part of it, isn't it? Because there's often songs that they may have rarely heard live. There's songs which they probably wouldn't expect to hear live with Phil on the road now, because it will be the bigger songs that people are pushing for. But he must have his favourites in there. And do you know anything about what he enjoys playing that you like to then share with the audience as well?
There are songs he has to do. He couldn't get away with not doing In the Air Tonight, for instance. And I know, I can't tell you which tracks there are. There are a couple of the slow ones in there where he goes, oh, not again. But I mean, the audience love them, and that's the important part of it. It's sharing the thing with the audience. That's the most important part. So all of the big hits that he's done that have been in the charts, we're doing, as well as you say, some tracks that people will have heard, but I thought, oh, I haven't heard that for ages, you know. So it's that kind of, we try to cover everything in the show.
And how many songs do you squeeze into one night?
There are 30 songs in this year's show. We've got a catalogue of songs that we've performed over the last 10 years, which is approaching 100 songs now. So we've got quite a decent slant of catalogue. And when it comes to looking at next year's show in 2018, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, because this is big enough as it is. But nevertheless, I'm sure we'll be revisiting some of the most popular tracks. A lot of our fans actually throughout the year request tracks, and we try to include those as well.
And so that sort of thing on your Facebook page, it's great to share that, and it's a good chance for people to come along and see that. So how do they find you on Facebook?
And finally, Phil Collins. It's as simple as that. So and it's got a good following, and this year, I mean, our audience is growing, and the numbers at each theatre are growing. So that's a good sign that everybody still loves Phil, and we're doing the best job we can with him.
Oh, they must love Phil, because Phil's going out on the road as well, so he wouldn't be doing it. But whether you can't afford the tickets for a massive stadium tour, this is going to be much more like everybody's pockets. But equally, this gets you closer to the music than you could probably ever do without spending thousands at a Phil Collins gig.
I hope so. I hope that's what I try to do, is to give them the full Phil Collins experience, with the choreography, with the stage set, with the lighting, with the way the show runs. We're always trying to meet his standard, and then people do come up to us and say at the end of the night, close your eyes and we were there. And that's the best compliment you can have, really.
Yeah, well, it's a set of songs that mean a lot to many people, a set of songs that everybody enjoys hearing, so it's going to be well worth getting your tickets, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. And to come back home, and we have a special surprise. It won't be a surprise now, appearance of St Peter's Church Choir. They're coming to sing on stage one of the gospel songs that Phil wrote. And that's going to be a really special event as well for Wolverhampton.
Yeah, more local involvement, you know quite what to do with there, with everyone who else is involved in that one as well. But that's going to be a really good night by the sounds of it. And your favourite song that you've got in these 30 this year?
Crikey, that's so different. I love them all. I really do. Take Me Home, I think. It's a song right at the end of the night, and it's really emotional, and I think we've nailed it.
Well, it's going to be well worth seeing. And finally, Phil Collins at Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre, Friday the 16th of June, 7:30, curtain up. But Tim Harper, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much, Jason. And of course, we'll have more from the Milk Bar at the same time next week. But if that's not enough for you, then the Milk Bar is also on the radio, and it's a podcast too. Just order up themilkbarpodcast.com to find out more. Now then, let's take a quirky but interesting trip back in time with everyone's favourite historian. It's our Norman Bartlam.
Today we're off for a tiptoe through the tulips, not from Amsterdam, but from Cannon Hill Park. In May 1960, the city had an idea which involved planting thousands of tulips in that park, creating a festival which would attract thousands of people. The council dug into their coffers and the gardeners dug into the ground as they suddenly had £9,000 worth of bulbs to plant. It was an immediate success, attracting thousands of green-fingered people and those just wanting a day out. It was held every year throughout the 60s and into the early 70s when it merged into the Spring Festival. In 1960, Max Bygraves was appearing at Coventry Hippodrome. He'd made a hit with Tulips from Amsterdam, and so he made an appearance on the last day of the festival. It was a little bit of Holland in the centre of Birmingham, but if you didn't understand it, it was, well, plain double Dutch. But the city's light bulb moment about bulbs was an undoubted blooming success.
And if you'd like Norman to take a look at something interesting in history, why don't you get in touch? You can email news@madeinbirmingham.tv. So then it's time to close the pages of the Birmingham News Weekend magazine for Saturday. Now I'll be back tomorrow night at 6 with more from the Weekend magazine, and then I'll see you bright and early on Monday morning at 7 for the Birmingham News Review. Plus, of course, you can keep up to date with more news for Birmingham and the West Midlands every weekday at 6 and 8 in the evening. So that's it for now. Stay tuned, the weather's up next, and then after the break we'll be seeing what George and Taffy have been up to this week on The Lowdown. Thanks for watching. From me, for now, ta-ra a bit.